Peep the fit, guys. Peep the fit. Pinky in the Brain t-shirt. Let's go. Let's go check out my socks. I got socks too. Oh my god. Oh my god. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me, please. Check it out. I know it don't match. Don't make a big deal about it. I'm out of breath now. So, reboots are a thing. Literally just the other day, Disney announced like 52 new projects, and a large majority of them were reboots or remakes. It's an easy way to minimize risk, and you're pretty much guaranteed financial success, unless you're Fantastic Four. No! When it comes to film reboots, they usually pale in comparison to the original, but TV reboots have been actually pretty decent. There's definitely quite a few that lack soul, and most of them can't really live up to the original, but they're at least fun. Animated reboots are a special case because they usually go for something very divergent of what we've seen before. Stuff like She-Ra and the Princesses of Power on Netflix, or whatever the hell this is.
Notice anything different, Raven?
What the fuck? The ones that try and continue the original style are sometimes the worst because they just feel so empty. But Animaniacs 2020 comes in and completely changes that. If you haven't seen the original Animaniacs, it follows 3 siblings. Yakko, the wisecracking oldest sibling, Wacko, the lovable idiot middle child, and Dot, the sassy and witty youngest sibling, who all live on the Warner Brothers lot and wreak havoc in various comedy sketches that have absolutely zero rules. Different time periods, different locations, etc. It's basically like if you combined the comedy sketch structure of Saturday Night Live with the pop culture references and fourth wall breaking of Deadpool, then had a Looney Tunes character telling all the jokes in a mostly kid-friendly way, or at least in a smart enough way to where the not so kid-friendly jokes completely go over their heads. That was always a quality that made Animaniacs so interesting to begin with. The fact that it's a show aimed at children with incredibly well-written jokes that the target audience probably won't even understand. They're more interested in the animated slapstick that goes along with those jokes. In that way, the writing had to be even smarter so they could get away with more. Going into the reboot, I was kind of worried that the writing would be dumbed down to appeal to the kids, but thankfully that is not the case at all. The show feels like it hasn't missed a beat, even though it reminds you that it literally missed 22 years from 1998 until now.
What's going on? Will we be okay? Has it all gone mad since we went away? Oh, update us please and put us at ease, cause we've run out of jokes about the 90s.
But the references are still just as well implemented as before, like the Jurassic Park opening scene. And the satire is just as biting as it was 2 decades ago. What Samurai Jack's revival did for the action cartoon, Animaniacs does for the satirical animated comedy. In 2017, when Samurai Jack came back with its final season, it continued right where it left off from its original run, flawlessly recapturing the gripping action, drama, comedy, and structure from the original show, if a bit more mature. Animaniacs does the same in recapturing the spirit it had 20 years ago. Not only does the pop culture riffing satire lend itself perfectly to current times, but also the over-the-top meta jokes are a match made in heaven with the fact that this is a reboot. So the Warner Brothers and Warner Sister are completely self-aware and take their chance to run with it. There is somewhat of an influx in political comedy in a few episodes, which Animaniacs is no stranger to, such as in this clip right here.
We're looking for someone to invest in our movie. Can you help us?
Sorry, but I prefer to invest in real estate.
Well, do you know how we can raise some big money fast?
Well, if you have a spare bedroom at home, you might try renting it out. Hey, did I say something wrong again? Uh-oh, Hillary's gonna whoop me for sure.
However, some have criticized the show, saying that it fell for the typical modern reboot virtue signaling, which personally I don't believe, because the whole shtick of Animaniacs is pop culture satire. And whether you like it or not, politics is an unavoidable part of that in 2020. On top of that, it leads to some of the funniest jokes in the show, and both sides of the political spectrum are fair game. Probably my favorite sketch this season was called Manny Manspreader, and holy crap. I won't spoil all of it, but basically what happens is Yakko, Wacko, and Dot go to the premiere of a new Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie, who, this is already a great setup because, as we all know, Dwayne Johnson is the one celebrity that both conservatives and liberals unite over. He's just great, everybody loves him. So while they're at this movie, they go to both sides of the theater and start telling people on like the left side, they'll say, oh, somebody on the right side of the theater said this about you. And they'll go to the right side and say, oh, somebody on the left side of the theater said this about you. And they do all that so both sides of the theater will charge at each other and fight, so that this man with legs the size of literal tree trunks will stop manspreading. So jokes ensue at the expense of everyone on the political spectrum, and it is brilliant. The songs here are also pretty good and reminiscent of the original run. Not every song is a standout, but a few like Reboot It,
Reboot it, renew it, reshoot it, redo it and reuse it, retool it, abuse it, dispute it.
and also the First Ladies of the United States, which is a callback to the President's song from the original show, are just fantastic.
First Lady Martha Washington stood strong at Valley Forge, and good old Dolly Madison saved Martha's husband George.
Also, let's not forget
My boy, Pinky and the Brain.
the technology-rich environment of 2020 lends itself perfectly to Brain's schemes to take over the world, and some of the jokes, man, and these sketches are just...
The internet is the most powerful information sharing tool ever devised. And do you know what most humans use it for?
I do, but I don't think I can say it.
Got him!
Pinky and Brain's dynamic is also just so strong, maybe stronger than ever in this iteration. It was amazing. I loved it. The two biggest changes for the show were the animation and the supporting cast. For the most part, the new animation style I thought actually helped improve the show. It's just so snappy and over the top, it just elevates the slapstick to a whole nother level. The facial expressions add so much to the comedy. It definitely feels a lot more like a 90s Nicktoon visually. Not so much a Warner Brothers cartoon, but for this I think it works. And that new style helps push some more absurdist leaning comedy, which I loved. There are a few missteps with the animation. Most of the time it feels more like traditional animation, but every once in a while they throw in a modern technique like limited animation and tweening, and it just makes it look kind of cheap, but for the most part it's not noticeable. The character designs, even though I like the new style, they pretty much didn't change the actual Animaniacs all that much. So when you see them standing beside these more caricature-like human characters, it just looks a little odd. But other than that little bit of dissonance, it's amazing. As for like the side characters, that was really my only big drawback to the show. Hello Nurse isn't present at all. They reference her without directly showing her, which honestly is fine. She's an iconic character, but not exactly a fantastically written one. I didn't miss her. On the other hand, watching the hijinks of characters like Slappy Squirrel or the Good Feathers or Buttons and Mindy were some of my favorite parts of the original run. They do reference the absence of these characters in this hilarious episode where Chicken Boo, remember him? Hopefully not. I choose not to. Disguises itself as a game hunter and then goes after every Animaniacs cast member from the past. The episode's funny, but it's sad to see them not return. The show fills this void with some shorts that show up in the later half of the season, my favorite of which was called The Incredible Gnome That Lives Inside People's Mouths, and he would just scream whatever they were thinking, and it was very funny. But none of these characters return after their one short. Hopefully we see them come back in the second season, and they build up a new supporting cast, because if they're not going to bring back the original, they might as well build up a new one. When I think of what makes a good reboot, especially a reboot that serves as a continuation to an older show, I think of, does it feel the same? Animaniacs 2020 absolutely does. It has the same witty, laugh-out-loud comedy it had 2 decades ago. It is a perfect reboot. They're never going to top this joke, though.
No, fingerprints.